Where boots hit the deck, stories take flight. Welcome to the Barracks Life, a podcast that brings you authentic stories from the men and women who've walked the path of military service. Here's a fun fact. Very few service members can say they've worn the uniform in such different capacities, from aviation maintenance to medevac missions, from flight operations to communications. That takes adaptability, resilience, and no small amount of courage to answer the call in so many different ways. I'm your host, former Sergeant Khit Lovan, Marine Corps veteran, and a CH-53 mechanic. Today, we're honored to have specialist Frank Chaco with us to share his journey. So Frank, before we dive into your service, let's start with your roots. So I grew up in Hawaii before I made my way to the mainland, and I hear you grew up in Guam?
Yes, both Guam and Kentucky.
Wow. That island life is something unique, isn't it? Like, we just have a different mindset.
Very much so. Yeah, everybody's family in the island.
Yeah. I want to know what's that like for you?
Oh, that's heaven. Island life was, and still is when I get back there. It's a lot of joy, peace. You know how people go on vacation to experience that time and space and beauty. That's what island life's about. It's there 24 hours a day. And the people make the best of it. They live off the ocean and the jungle. As kids growing up, we did the same thing. We played in the ocean and fished and played in the jungle and hunted. And that was, I remember crabbing. I still go back there as an adult and I go crabbing.
Yeah.
It was such a life.
That's super awesome. Yeah. And how often would you say you go back?
About every 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have some friends that are from Guam. I've never been myself, but from what I hear, it's pretty much the same as Hawaii. Maybe a little bit different, like food and the culture is a little bit different, but that island life, that Pacific island life is definitely there for sure from what I've heard.
Yes, it is. And here in San Diego, we get together quite a bit in our Pacific Island festivals and our gatherings that we have.
We do. Growing up in Guam or the island life, do you think that it shaped us differently than the kids here in the mainland or people here in the mainland?
I'm not really sure about that, but I know my parents shaped me uniquely. So being in Guam or in the United States or on the mainland, my parents had a lot to do with how I'm shaped or how I turned out. And my father was strict, but right, I guess, or strict in honoring. He made me respect others and respect elders and respect my peers. And maybe that was part of the island lifestyle, that carried through to the mainland with me as well.
Yeah, I definitely can resonate with that because being from Hawaii, it's 100% about respect.
Yes.
And you just don't cross that line. And we learn from a young age that if you cross that line, something's going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Not only by the elders, but also by your peers. It's interesting because when I came in as an adult, it was very different. I had to reframe my thinking. What was allowed here was not allowed back home.
Oh, right.
Like certain behaviors.
Yes. My father carried that with us wherever we were. We pretty much were treated just like we were in the island.
That's awesome. So before your military life, did you have a plan for yourself? A career, some hobbies?
Well, yeah, I had too many. And none of them turned out the way I expected. I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a forest ranger. And I actually started to go to college for a forest ranger. And the zoology just killed me. That was such a tough course. And I was doing okay. I was making it through it, but then I got pneumonia. And it was a 10-unit course, including the lab. So 10 units. It was just full time. I ended up getting pneumonia and getting dropped from college because I was out too long sick. And I didn't want to go back through all that again. So I stopped my pursuit of being a forest ranger at that point.
And this was all back in Guam?
No, this was here in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I actually moved to San Diego when I was 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was in Guam when I was younger, and then Kentucky, and then San Diego.
Wow. Was there a reason why you moved at the age of 12?
To San Diego?
Yeah.
That's another story, yes. My father was in the Army, so I'm an Army brat. For 7 years, he was stationed in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and that's where I spent a good deal of my youth. He had 21 years in. He's going to retire after 22 years. In his last year, the Army stationed him in Korea. His older brother, my uncle, lived here in San Diego, And they decided together to, after my father spent that last year in Korea, that they're going to open up a television repair station here, or a store here in San Diego. So my father moved us out here to San Diego when he was stationed in Korea, and left us here, went to Korea. Man, he never made it back from Korea. He was killed in action over there in Korea when I was 13.
I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you for his service, ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Would you say your father or someone influenced you into the military service, or was that just something that you were about?
It was my whole father's side of the family. My father, his brothers, they were all in the Army. So, yeah, I joined the Army partly because of that. The other part was I actually wanted the Air Force first.
Oh, yeah.
But they wouldn't promise me a particular job. Mm-hmm. They gave me a wide open. I could have been anywhere from a cook to something else.
Yeah, open contract kind of deal.
I wanted to guarantee what I was going to be. So the Army allowed me to choose aviation, and I did that.
That's awesome. At what age would you say you joined?
22.
You were 22. I was 22.
And I signed up when I was 22. I went in at 23.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I was 21 when I signed up. And I actually finished boot camp right before I turned 22.
Okay, pretty close to the same.
Yeah, we're considered seniors in our group.
Yes. Yes, there were quite a few people younger than me in my squad and platoon.
Mm-hmm. What was that journey like for you in boot camp? How did you feel about that? Was it nervousness? Tell us all about that.
Actually, boot camp was kind of a breeze for me.
Yeah.
I had a lot of confidence because my uncles and my father, and I spent so much time at Fort Knox, and that was a training base.
Right.
And I used to shoe shine out there, and I used to sell newspapers to all the guys who were going through boot camp. Mm. And so I had an idea what it was about, and my uncles told me, all you have to do is follow the rules. Whatever they say, you do exactly what they say, you're going to get through it. Mm-hmm. And 2 or 3 months, it's nothing. Anybody can do anything in that time frame. So I had a lot of confidence when I went in. If they told me to fold all my clothes in my drawer 7 inches, I had a ruler and I made it exactly 7 inches. Mm-hmm. And so I did fairly well through there. And plus I had college when I went in. I went in at a higher rank than most of the other guys that were in there. So that was another benefit.
I remember my time being older, a lot of the drill instructors, we call our drill instructors, would rely on you to kind of rally the troops.
Yes.
And task you with a lot more than, say, someone younger or someone incompetent. Not just because of their age, because when you do come in a little bit older, you tend to have some life experience, whether yours be college or mine's be working in the oil field or something like that. So yeah, they rely on you because it's a lot of work for those drill instructors. So I know in my boot camp, there were good times, bad times, and hilarious times. Was there anything that you can recall right now?
Well, yeah. One of the biggest things I remember is I'm a Christian man. Mm-hmm. So in boot camp, I led at least one other person to the Lord.
Wow.
And that's my biggest memory of that. I went in and they made me a squad leader right off the beginning because of my college. And I stayed a squad leader throughout the whole time in boot camp. So I was able to have a little bit more freedoms and to get to know all the guys individually instead of, most of the guys had assignments to their own squads. I got mixed around with the whole platoon because of my rank. So one of the men there from New York City, he was in a lot of trouble with the law and he joined the Army and I told him about Jesus.
Yeah.
And yeah, we sat down there. I had little pocket Bibles and we opened them up and we did Bible study together in basic training. That was my biggest memory about basic training, actually.
That's so awesome. Are you in contact with him still?
No, but I remember his name.
Yeah.
Can I say that? His name was Troy Butts.
Troy Butts.
I looked for him and I haven't been able to find him.
I want to say that's such a good memory to have of boot camp or of your early days of the military. For the Marines, it's rough in there. It can be rough, right? I mean, it's all how you look at it. I've talked to a lot of Marines and a lot of their memories are not as joyful as yours or as impactful.
Okay, well, it's how you make it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
We'd wake up in the mornings and do PT first thing, and then I love that. just getting my blood flowing, getting the excitement and the morale. Because in PT, you're as a team. The whole basic training was team.
Mm-hmm.
But you start first thing in the morning, you get up, you go right to PT. And we were in the middle of the winter in my basic training, so it was freezing cold outside. So we bundled up, and either we went for a run, or we go inside and do jumping jacks for 45 minutes to an hour.
And where was your boot camp at?
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Oh.
And we called it Misery.
Misery.
Fort Lost in the Woods, Misery. That's what we called it. Going back to the island life, one thing about islanders, we back each other up.
Yeah.
And family, and especially from Guam. So in my basic training, there were a handful of Guamanian drill sergeants.
Wow.
And one of them was my uncle, but he wasn't in my platoon or my company.
Uh-huh.
He was in a different company, but my drill sergeants knew him. So they found out a Chaco was there. And in basic training, you got to stay there pretty much the whole time until training's over, until you go to AIT, before you get liberty or freedom for a weekend. Well, since my uncle was one of the drill sergeants, he pulled me out on the weekend on a Sunday to go to church with him and have barbecue. And then, so I was a little spoiled for basic training.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Part of the island life.
My experience was not like that at all.
Yes, they just said, Chaco, front and center. And I went out there and they said, report to this drill sergeant. And the drill sergeant said, you can't tell anybody what's going on, but we're taking you away for a little bit. And
you got the buddy hookup.
I didn't even know what was going on until I was in a car going somewhere and like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You were just told to follow directions. Yes, sir. No, sir.
That's right. And nobody in my platoon knew what happened with me other than I came back.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. And different. That's really surprising to me because nothing like that in the Marine Corps would happen.
Yeah, it's not supposed to happen. I slept overnight at their house.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
A little spoiled in the basic training.
You did have you were spoiled. No wonder why you have such a good memory. No, I'm just kidding. So you finished boot camp, right? What year? I'm sorry, was this?
I signed up I went in November 85. So in January 86, I finished boot camp.
Okay. And then
that was in Fort Leonard Wood. And then I was stationed at Fort Rucker, Alabama for my AIT for aviation training.
AIT?
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Advanced Individual Training.
Okay.
That's for my UH-1 helicopter mechanic helicopter repair course and training.
You said earlier that you specifically wanted aviation.
Yes.
What was the reason for that?
Well, in the neighborhood that we lived in was right against it was on a hill overlooking the airfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go ride my bike, go up on that hill and watch aviation activities all the time.
That's awesome.
And I spent many hours watching that airfield. It's crazy because, I grew up in Fort Knox, Kentucky, watching this aviation. And then, I was 6 years old to 12 years old. And it was intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, when I joined the military, they sent me back to Fort Knox, Kentucky.
You're on the other side of the fence now.
To that exact same field that I was looking at all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually asked to go to Hawaii, to Europe, or California, any of those places, and they sent me back to Fort Knox. I hated that. I wasn't looking forward to going back where I grew up. Yeah. I wanted to travel the world in the military, and they sent me back home.
Yeah.
And some of the other guys that were from that area, they wanted to go there. And so we talked about trying to get a swap. The military wouldn't give us a swap.
No. Wow. Also, you're on the other side of the fence, being in those people's shoes that you were watching. That must have been kind of a trip.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Did you sit and stare at the spot that you used to look at?
I actually did.
Yeah.
I went back to that hill. Actually, when I was stationed in Fort Knox, actually on assignment, I went back to my childhood spots.
Yeah.
And I visited that hill many times as an adult, looking back over the same place. Man, I used to look here. It's just amazing how that happened.
Yeah.
Full circle brought me back home. Big part of that was my only memories of my father. was there on Fort Knox, Kentucky, and in Guam, those two places. When I went back to Fort Knox, Kentucky, I did as much as I can to reminisce time with my dad.
Yeah. Being a Christian man myself, do you feel that those experiences happen for a reason? And do you understand those reasons?
Oh, yeah. I believe everything happens for a reason. Yeah. God's directing my life. And I don't know why he sent me back to Fort Knox. And I really haven't sat down to think that through and analyze that. I know my path is directed by God.
Yeah.
And everywhere I end up is because of him.
Right.
I didn't reflect too much on Fort Knox and God sending me there, but it was great. Made a lot of friends. Everywhere I go, I connect with other Christians and I introduce people to Christ. God's been using me that way all my life since I was saved at 13. Yeah, I actually connected in my unit. I was in the 431st Medevac detachments who I got assigned to, part of the 42nd Army Field Hospital in Fort Knox. And I connected with other Christians in my unit, and one main person was Warrant Officer John Alfson. So, John, if you're listening, you were a big part of my life. He was a warrant officer. He was the pilot, one of the many pilots, and I was the crew chief and the mechanic. So we're not supposed to fraternize with officers as enlisted. I was a sergeant. He was a CW2, 3, and then 4.
He's a unicorn.
Yeah. And we got along great. We did a lot of stuff together because our love for the Lord.
Yeah.
And, Christians find other Christians to be part of their lives. And John and his wife, Sandra, were a big part of my life when I was there, mine and my wife's life.
Yeah.
And it was, I still keep in touch with John today. He lives in Florida. He's still a pilot for the Sheriff's Department in Florida. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. I mean, that's super awesome that you still keep in touch with them to this day. I hope one day that I can say that later in my years, that I can say that my military friends that have been a part of my life, I can still talk to them and chat with them, and they're still there.
Yeah. Today's technology and internet and all the social media is so much easier to stay in touch with people like that. So if you found a way to reconnect with them, that's easy today to stay in touch.
Yeah.
And John, one of the things he used to say all the time in the military when we were out training or flying, as aviation, this is really key. Stay alert, stay alive.
Yeah.
And John used to say that all the time, and it's never left my mind, even to today, everything that I do.
I like that. Stay alert, stay alive. I'm going to have to jot that down in my memory bank with permanent ink. You're absolutely right. Like social media or the internet technology makes it a lot easier to communicate. And I think for myself, one of the issues is I'm terrible with technology. Not that I'm physically terrible with technology, but my brain doesn't connect or stay attached to technology. I mean, I have friends that I don't text back in 3 days, and that's just how I am. And it's something that I need to work on, and I've been trying, but it's a journey for me. But
that kind of shocks me. I'm sitting here looking at you right now doing an internet podcast.
Yeah, no, honestly, like this was a big step for me when I was presented to this idea of being on this podcast. It was, I prayed about it, and you can ask everyone who knows me or knew me. I'm not this type of person to be putting my voice out there, putting my story or this and that out to people that I never or will ever meet.
Oh, right.
Or even are not in my close personal bubble. So I prayed, and I asked God and review his plan for me. Obviously, he doesn't do that always, and he didn't do that, but he did review what's in my heart, and he revealed that, he's been preparing me throughout my whole life for this kind of stuff. Am I going to finally actually take a leap and do it? And and I've been told throughout my life and my career in the military and even my career in the oil fields that people gravitate towards me, and I have a good way of explaining or talking. I have good communication skills, basically.
Yes.
And I credit that to God. I mean, he's been shaping me throughout my whole life, putting me in many situations where I had to keep my tongue in check. And also there's been many times where I lost my tongue, and, I burned a lot of bridges, and I've learned from it and I grew from it. And I credit all that to God, and I see that. So when this podcast was presented to me, I originally didn't want to do it. I really didn't. But like yourself, a Christian man, we give everything to God. So I prayed.
Yeah.
And then I had to just put my feelings and my thoughts aside and just go with what he's telling me to do.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's how this all started for me, at least.
And maybe a little pressure from some friends.
No. I don't know if it was pressure. It was kindly nudging.
Okay. A few nudges.
Yeah. So now you're in the fleet, right? You're a crew chief, a mechanic.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, you're flying those birds you used to see on the other side of the fence.
Oh, yeah.
Must have been like a dream, almost like a dream come true for you.
It was, exactly. And because I was so intrigued as a kid looking at those helicopters and the planes, mostly the helicopters.
Yeah.
And then end up being part of that and in it was huge for me. I miss so much, even to this day, all the flying hours. I had like 2.5 years as a crew chief.
Wow.
And I had around 325 hours flying time in medevac unit. Did a lot of life-saving rescues. Carried a lot of heavy people.
Yeah.
Bending over, carrying a hammock or a stretcher into the aircraft and loading people up, and severely injured car accidents, people with anaphylactic shock, different range injuries, because we covered the shooting range for the military and then the local public population. They didn't have civilian medical ambulances out there or helicopter ambulances. So as the Army base, we supported the nearby public towns and cities.
Wow.
So we had a lot of missions, and the memories I have from that I'll never forget. And then I'm grateful that God used me that way. And then we had our fun times. We still had to train. We still had to get the hours in for the pilots. So we'd go and we'd fly right above the tree lines, and I'd stick out of the aircraft and hook myself in and just get all that free flowing air. And it was a lot of good times and a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Those long, grueling hours and those hard tasks, stressful tasks, definitely makes those little moments when you're just in the helicopter and you see a different view of your little city, and it just makes it so much more, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And you're seeing everything from a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
So I do remember the first year and a half there, definitely the first year, and then stretched into months afterwards. I didn't have any birthdays to celebrate or Thanksgivings or Christmases because I was on duty.
Yeah.
They were shorthanded when I got there, so it's 24 on, 24 off pretty much.
Wow.
For a little over a year. It was very tough on my wife.
Yeah.
So it was a sacrifice for my wife, not me being around, and especially they'd send me off on TDY. I don't think I was there 30 days. They sent me off to Wisconsin on TDY for 30 days.
For the people that don't know, can you explain what TDY is?
Temporary duty assignment.
And I don't know why it's TDY when it should be TDA.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You know, we don't ask questions in the military.
Yeah, exactly. So they sent me off my first month there to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. And little did we realize, or my wife realized, that Fort Knox was armor. It's tanks. It's tanks and cannons. So they sent me off, and the first few days I was gone, there was all kinds of explosions nearby, and it scared the daylights out of my wife. She didn't know what was going on, so she was paranoid, and she couldn't contact me when I'm on that kind of assignment. I don't have immediate phone access. It's not like we have our cell phones today. Back in the 80s. So she had a hard time with that first month when I was gone. We weren't even married for, I don't know, we got married by the church in June. In July, they set me off. So it wasn't even 2 months, and I'm gone from 30 days from her, and she's in a new town in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So she had a hard time. So we ended up sending her back here to San Diego to be with her family about 3 times the first year we were together there in Fort Knox, just so she can start to feel a little bit safe and comfortable.
Yeah, and shout out to all those military wives that put up with us and the military. I mean, you guys just get dragged along everywhere, nowhere, and you guys have no real say in a lot of it.
Yes, I really feel for the spouses that have to stay back.
The spouses and the families and just...
Yes, and their kids.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's hard on marriages.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's military members have one of the highest divorce rates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Whenever we had to separate, I wasn't married to my wife yet. We were still dating at the time when I went on a boat. I got deployed to the 31st Meal, which is a boat, a Navy boat. The Marines, we attach ourselves to Navy boats, so that's how we get around. And my float was the 31st Meal, and we were in Asia, basically just floating around in the South Pacific Sea and kind of just showing force out there. And I remember those days where all communication would cut off. We call it River City. No communications are coming in and no communications going out. And when I was in, that's when China was starting to act up and do some kind of weird things along that area. And I remember my wife, at the time, I didn't think about it. But now, after talking to her and talking to other military members, I kind of have more compassion and understanding on the wives' side or the family side. It's a huge impact on them. And yeah, they just put up with so much.
Very huge. I can... Mostly what I know is from my wife, but I do have friends who've been impacted the same way. And my wife, boy, I really feel for her because the first year in the military was so hard on her. And being in a foreign city, she grew up here in San Diego. Yeah, it was very difficult for her. And she's Filipino. And in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and that we lived in the local town, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And Radcliffe was right outside the base, and then Elizabethtown. There's not many Filipinos out there.
Yeah, Filipinos. My wife's Filipino, and they're big family people.
They are.
Big family people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So she really struggled with that out there.
I fully understand why you sent her back to San Diego, just to keep her sanity, almost.
Yeah.
They're troopers, the wives and families that put up with us. They go through it a lot.
For all our current active and actually the retired or veterans, for all their spouses, I'm grateful to them just as much as to their spouses who served because of all the sacrifices they have to do for their spouse.
Yeah. I remember I would think like, oh, we were doing the sacrifice, but we're not. Some point I realized that we aren't the only ones doing the sacrificing. Yeah.
It's important to remember the spouses that stay behind and the family.
Yeah.
Their kids. Sometimes their parents.
So all the flying and all the missions and all the training that you've done during that period, can you recall, or is there a moment that stands out in your head right now that you will probably remember forever?
There's two, but it was actually after I got out of active and I went into the reserves.
Okay.
I continued flying.
Okay. I
continued as a UH-1 mechanic and crew chief. I was a sergeant. I volunteered into Inactive Ready Reserves, IRR. And I went to North Carolina, Fort Bragg, and to Fort Carson, Colorado, both places during that time. And both times, the local community asked the military for help. And in both places that I went, I think God was using me.
Yeah.
Because in both places I was deployed, we went up in the air on rescue missions or recovery missions for somebody local who didn't make it. And it was the strangest thing. I mean, we were flying in, and this is the one story I'll remember the most, is in Colorado, there was this man that was out with family in a river, and he didn't make it back. He drowned in the river, and they couldn't find him. And they looked for days trying to find him, and they couldn't. So they asked the local military and I was volunteering there at the time, and we went up. I was chosen as the crew chief, and we went up and we spent our whole, I can't remember exactly how long it was, an hour and a half, something in the air, to use up all our fuel looking for this person as a recovery for their family. And we were running low on fuel, time to turn around and go back because we were already searching for over an hour. And we're following this river. And then I hear the pilot say, all right, guys, thanks for, giving it our best. And we got to head on back because we're running low on fuel. And right after they said that, we're still getting ready to turn away from that river. And I looked down, and I'm constantly looking out. I was looking for this particular man, and I saw it was an orange colored river because of all the silt stirring up from the river. And I looked down and I saw cream colored in one spot as we were banking to turn away. We have our intercoms on. So I calmed up to the pilots. Sir, can you do me a favor, please? One more circle around. I think I just saw something. And they said, what? I said, yeah, I saw something that didn't look normal. It may be him. I don't know.
Right.
So they said, all right, one last time. And we circled around and they lowered, got closer to the river. And sure enough, we found him. He was hung up on a branch. So I remember that because it brings relief and satisfaction and solace to the family of their lost one.
Yeah.
And it's not really the best mission they have, but it's one to help the family. I wouldn't know what to do. My father passed away and we didn't have his body to bury him. So it's an unfortunate situation in the military that I went through, but it's a part of my serving that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of other good and bad times in the military, but that one really stands out.
Yes, something that, that popped up in my mind earlier that I forgot, but I just remembered. As Christian, we're called to save souls, right? To spread the word so their souls can be saved.
Yes, to go out and make disciples of other men.
Right. And you were put in a space where you are saving lives and potentially lives, and souls could be saved.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes those lives were already lost.
Yes. That's the unfortunate part of it.
But your impact on, for example, that bringing that body back and you just being in that space, creating closure and things like that could potentially plant a seed, like we like to say. And, you never know how God's working.
Right. And, we don't hear about the ending about that other than we found him.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's hard. I'm trying to just recollect what I would be going through and how I would feel. And it's unimaginable. I'm glad you've done what you've done for those people.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. And I would love for someone to put that kind of effort and care into if it were my family member.
Yeah. It's an honor to be able to help others, especially in the military, because our military is not designed to help others, really.
So you said you did that in the reserves?
Yes, there's a inactive ready reserves.
Okay. So how many years you spent before you went into inactive reserves? And then how many years was that?
I had 3 years active.
Okay.
With active Army.
Okay.
I would have stayed in longer. I actually applied for flight school to be a pilot.
Okay.
And I got accepted.
Uh-huh.
And I had my flight package ready to go. And my commander of the 431st Medevac unit had just signed it. So I was approved to go to flight school.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife went and got a perm. I don't remember the exact timing on this, but during that package time, I didn't send it in yet. I had just gotten it signed. She got a perm, and the salon burned her face and her scalp with the chemicals. So we took her to emergency, Fort Knox. I got approved to go to flight school at the same time when my enlistment was ending.
Perfect timing.
So I'd have to re-enlist.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that yet. So my wife, I was going to re-enlist into OCS, Officer Candidate School, to get my flying in flight school. Anyways, I took my wife to emergency, and up until that point, every one of her appointments, she was not comfortable out there in Fort Knox. She had me with her every time. I'd sit with her in her appointments with the doctors or nurses or whoever. So at that emergency, she wanted me with her. And a female doctor ordered me to stay out. And my wife said, I want him in there with me. And I said, ma'am, my wife wants me there with her. I need to be with her. She said, no, Sergeant Chaco, I told you to go sit in the waiting room. And I said, ma'am, my wife wants me there with her. She said, Sergeant Chaco, I'm ordering you to go to the waiting room. And because of that situation, my wife said, I don't want this anymore. And I did not re-enlist. I did not go to flight school. I got out of the Army, active duty. And that's unfortunate, but I guess that was the path that God led me on.
Yes.
That's how I see it. Just takes one person in a career to change your path. And that one doctor, female doctor, I don't know why she did that, but it changed my career path.
Super unfortunate that happened to your family, but like we believe, right, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
God was saying it's your active duty time is over, right? So, and then that's when you joined into the reason.
Well, I signed up for 8 years initially.
Oh, okay.
And since that was only 3 years, you still have to serve the remainder.
Right.
And IRR is the option that you have.
And then you went active for that.
I would call up and volunteer. Hey, while you're in the IR, you can train anywhere, anytime. So you call the IRR program and say, hey, I'd like to volunteer or train somewhere. What are my options?
Yeah.
And I did that. And they said, well, where would you like to go? And instead of saying Hawaii or first place I wanted to go is Fort Carson, Colorado. And then the second place I wanted to go is Fort Bragg because my uncle, my dad's younger brother, was stationed there.
Okay.
So I chose those particular places. But I was surprised that they let me choose.
Yeah.
And it was usually for about 30 days.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if ours is like that in the Marine Corps. I don't know if it has to do with your job because you're a crew chief and they were just glad to have you.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's also back in the 80s too.
Okay.
So the military's changed over time. But
yeah.
So I don't really know either. It was very cool that they, and the neatest thing about that is I got new sets of uniform every time I trained. Like, what? Okay.
That is fun. It's like
new fatigues, new flight suits, new boots.
Did you get to keep them after?
I got to keep everything. Yeah. And I hear today you got to turn everything back in pretty much.
Yeah.
Back then, I got to keep everything. And as a matter of fact, I still have that stuff in a trunk.
Yeah.
In my garage.
Do you still fit them?
No.
Yeah. Nowadays, we have to turn everything back in except for the uniforms you purchased. So like your utilities, your utes, coveralls, hats, all those things. Military issued things we have to return. Mm-hmm. But you got them straight issued to you and you got to take them home.
That's right. And they're sitting in my preparedness trunk.
Yeah. Out of all the Marines that I know, I've never heard of any of them. Maybe because it is the Marine Corps. But during their inactive service, want to go back in.
I missed aviation. It's a unique skill in the military.
Yeah.
It's a unique opportunity.
Yes.
And I flew, like I said, I had over 300 hours, and that's a lot for that short time period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I missed it. So I wanted to get back into it. And I got out because of the situation with my wife.
Mm-hmm. So
that was an opportunity for me to ask, hey, what can I do?
Yeah. Usually for the Marines that I know, they get forced back in.
Because it's a different world today.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe you still can. I just don't know any. So if there's anyone listening out there and they're in the IR and want to go back in just for 30 days or whatever, ask.
Yeah.
Just ask.
I recommend it.
Yeah.
Because you're not treated the same. You're treated with respect. And a lot of the military treats you with respect. But when you come in for 30 days, you have a little bit more freedom. They need and want the best out of you, so you can offer them the best, but they also respect that and give you a lot of freedom.
Yeah, they respect your time.
I mean, right, exactly.
Everything you put in, and we need you here, so we're going to use you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's an interesting opportunity.
And I did work hard hours when I volunteered, and when I asked to go back in for those 30 days. I repaired them and worked on the aircraft just like if I did when I was active duty. Mm-hmm. There was nothing different about that. It was just I wasn't set to be long-term with these units or commands that I went to.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Or that's awesome that you got to do that. And actually, I do know one person. He's in the Air Force, a crew chief as well. And he does that. He does exactly what you're doing. He calls in and asks if there's missions that need him because of his, all the qualifications he has and the billet that he is. And, the whole rank structure thing. It's like, yes, we need you. He's basically in high demand. So he gets to pick and choose wherever he wants to fly. I remember talking to him and he was in Spain, flying around in Spain.
That's very cool.
With the Air Force, And
it reminds me, when I was in active duty with Fort Knox, 431st Med Detachment, we went to Fort McCoy quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And we were there to support, as a medevac unit, the Air Force.
Yeah.
Because they do the Warthogs, the A-10s, training out there. So we were supporting them. And it was night and day where the food that we ate and the housing that we had versus the food and the housing that the Air Force people had. And the Air Force, man, they had steaks. They had nice places to stay. They had all the newest gear. And our Army unit, we had our low-end food and low-end lodging.
Yeah.
So when they were there and we supported them, they'd invite us to come eat with them quite a bit. And I envied the Air Force personnel because of that.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about joining the Army or the Air Force or Marines right now, I highly recommend trying to get in the Air Force.
I've had my experience with the Air Force a little bit. And yeah, because I have relatives that are in the Air Force. And the stuff that they would tell me is just night and day. Like you said, right? They're eating nice meals. They had a warm shower and an actual shower.
Yes. They usually stayed in hotels instead of the field.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're out there in the sticks,
That's
sleeping
right.
with our bird.
That's right. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to go into the Air Force too later on. So
yeah.
Any of you guys thinking about which one to go to, I recommend the Air Force.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. You mentioned that you had an opportunity to join the Air Force.
Yeah, so that's later on. So during this time when I was active duty in Fort Knox. When I got out, I came back home to San Diego.
Right, okay.
And that's when I signed up for I was in the IRR and volunteered from San Diego, and they went these different places. My wife and I decided to move to Seattle.
Okay.
And while I'm volunteering IRR, I'm still a civilian employee. I still work for companies. So I was working here in San Diego at two different companies, and we were both ready to have a family and change. And we didn't want to do that in San Diego. So we drove up the coast one day. We packed up, said, let's go look for where we want to move to. And we drove for a week, actually. We started off one day and we went up the coast of California looking for different towns, and we stopped by the different commerce places, different welcoming, I don't know what they call them. When you go into a new city, there's a information place. Yeah. So we went to many of those. We used the Yellow Pages back then, and we checked like Redding, California. We checked Sacramento. We just went up the coast or up Highway 5 looking where to move. We didn't feel comfortable in California, so we kept going. We went through Eugene and Portland, and we stopped at other towns along the way, and it still didn't feel right. And maybe by the fourth or fifth day, we were up in Washington State already now, and then it started to feel like maybe this is where we want to live. And when we drove into Seattle, we knew. We got in on June 7th, 1991 in Seattle. I remember the day, and we slept in a rest stop overnight. And on June 7th, we woke up in that rest stop and looked around what we saw, and we're like, oh, this is it.
Yeah, wow.
We want to move here. So we moved up there, and my wife got a job first, and then I eventually got a job at a mom and pop computer tech shop. I was in the IT. I was a computer specialist. I learned that in college before I joined the Army. And while I was in the medevac unit, they used me as their IT guy because I knew the most about computers back then. Anyways, we ended up moving up a month later to Seattle. We found a place to live and a job, came back to San Diego, packed up all our stuff, and moved up to Seattle. We ended up living there for 9.5 years. But during that time I joined the Army Reserves.
Okay.
And that's how my next transition in the military started. So we get up there, I'm still IRR at this time, but then I sign up for an active Army Reserve unit.
Ah, I see. Okay.
And while I'm there, I'm still in the E5, Sergeant E5. They send me, that unit was Chinooks.
46s.
Yes. Actually, I think it was 47s, UH-47s.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. 47 for the Army, 46s for the Marine Corps.
Yes. And so they sent me to school to be flight operations and weatherman.
Wow. So
I went down in Idaho for training for that. And it's another career for me. And it was flight operations for the UH-47s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty stressful.
It wasn't.
No?
No, it was... it's a reserve unit.
Oh, okay.
Most of the stuff that they did and we did was supporting firefighting for the state of Washington. And
the 47?
The 47s. Yeah.
Wow.
We'd airlift the firefighters out to their locations. We'd airlift equipment. We'd airlift water and help with the drops. So it was a unique situation and unique unit to be a part of. And I learned a lot about weather and flight operations. I was inside the aircraft in my first tour of the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm still in aviation on the outside of the aircraft.
Yeah.
In operations part, in my second part of the tour of the Army, or the Army Reserves.
Mm-hmm. Wow. But still in the aviation world.
Still in aviation. Yeah. I was unfortunate about that, though, because I loved it so much, being in aviation and being back in there. And I was a civilian. I was working for that small mom and pop shop during that time. And then I transitioned to a law firm in in Seattle. The Army Reserve was my part-time work.
Right.
And my full-time work was IT, a computer expert, computer tech. And I very much enjoyed the part-time work with the Army, and I found Christian friends in the Army, and you built this camaraderie with the other guys. And there's one particular guy, his name is, I forget. I met him in Fort Carson, Colorado.
Okay.
His name is Troy. So Troy was a warrant officer as well, and he was a sergeant first class in my Army unit.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually became a warrant officer. But they deactivated that unit with us, and that's how I ended up leaving the Army Reserves. Right down the street from that unit was an Air National Guard unit.
Oh, okay.
During the Clinton administration, they found out that Army Reserves was going to be deactivated, so the Air National Guard came over to us and said, hey, any of you guys want to transition from the Army to the Air Force, we'll welcome you in at the same rank.
Wow.
We just have to retrain you. Here we go again with my retraining. and that's how I moved from getting out of the aviation and out of Army into Air Force and Washington State Air National Guard.
And what was your job in the Air National Guard?
I was a communication specialist, fiber optics expert. So a lot of cable fiber splicing and repairing and fusing fiber lines together.
Is that for buildings?
It was fiber optics for technology, for communication, for computers, for the internet, for
basically anything that's using.
It was basically back then, and that was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That was the beginning of the internet, and so they were upgrading from copper cable.
I see.
All the military bases across the world were upgrading from copper to fiber, and 215th Engineering Installation Squadron for Washington State. They supported the U.S. military worldwide.
Wow. And you were part of that.
I was part of that, yeah. So from there, I participated in upgrading Vandenberg Air Force Base, where they launch all the rockets from.
Wow.
From copper to fiber. I learned how to operate heavy equipment there during that time. Went to South Korea, Pusan, to upgrade that base from copper to fiber.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good experience, good times.
Wow. Did you miss the aviation? I'm sure you missed part of the aviation.
I still miss aviation. I'll never stop missing aviation.
Yeah.
It was part of my blood.
Yeah.
You know, I still understand all the flight operations and the aviation requirements and rules for pilots and crew and how we interact with the towers and ATC. It's all part of me. It being so ingrained in me in the military, in the Army, it's always going to be a part of me.
I'm curious, was it very different in the Air Force?
Oh, night and day.
Like, what?
They had money.
So obviously the equipment, like we talked earlier, and our housing was a lot better. But what about the personnel? Were they different, a different breed?
I don't know so much. Well, yeah, maybe from the Army. It's hard to really pinpoint that, but there's good and bad people wherever you go.
Yes.
And you try to make the best out of your relationships. And I had great relationships in the Army Reserves, and the Air National Guard. There were people in all three of those areas that I didn't appreciate. And just one bad apple can hurt the careers of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I had that I don't think I've experienced that in the IRR, in my volunteering with them. But in the other three, the Active Army, the Army Reserves, and Air National Guard, I did have some sour apples that affected people, and you just have to work around that and do the best you can.
Right.
And try to stay positive and, serve your part.
Right. Yeah, the only thing we can control is what we can control, right?
Right. But I can say out of all the places, I made friends, and life-lasting friends.
Yeah.
And I have life-lasting friends from all my experiences in the military. and I still stay in touch with them today.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
A lot of us Marines, or even people in general, have such a distinction. I'm sure there's obviously distinctions between all the branches, but it's good to hear that we can still find that bond no matter what branch we are.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know if the civilian public knows so well, but for you military people, we spend so much time with each other. We bond. You have to form a brotherhood or a family feeling with the opposite sexes. You become a family.
Yeah.
It's hard to let that go once you get out. You still have those connections with people.
It's kind of a weird phenomenon, right? Because you can say like civilians, they do spend a lot of time at work.
Yes.
But they don't create that bond for some reason that military members create, even though technically, we go to our workspaces and we work there just like a civilian would go to their workspace and work. And there's all these people involved in whatever they're doing, civilian-wise. And same with us. There's whatever we got going on. But for some reason, us military members tend to click a lot closer.
Yeah.
Even though we're doing the same thing, we're just in a uniform.
It's very unique. And I think maybe there's a lot of times that we spend the night together. Part of the military requires that. And when you do that with people, you really get to know them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it too. We spend many, many nights in the military with our other military members that you don't do in the civilian life.
Mm-hmm. And there's times where like you butt heads and you can't just, you have to work through it.
You have to work through it.
There's no other option.
That's correct. You can't just quit your job and go somewhere else.
Or just, call HR on them and or do whatever. You can't just run away, basically.
Exactly.
And because we're confronted with that, we create this bond that's so different.
Yeah. It may be a love-hate bond, but there's a bond.
Yeah. This is true.
You have to work it out. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if you don't want to work out, someone's going to make it work it out.
Yeah.
Make you work it out. Because it's for the greater goal, right? The greater good of the mission, the branch that you're in, whatever. It's part of our ethos.
Yes, exactly. We're not there for serving ourselves for our career. We're there to serve the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for that greater good.
Yeah, we put ourselves aside.
That's right. We have to. You know that. Sign the dotted line. You're going to serve your country, and basically they control you 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that's the sacrifice that we give when we go in.
I normally don't think that the other branches are doing the same thing or going through the same things, but we all are.
Yes.
We just got a different uniform on.
Yeah, exactly. Air Force, maybe they get more money and they sleep in nicer rooms, but they're still serving. They're still spending time away from their family.
They got their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're still going through the same things we go through. They just, like you said, they just got more money.
Right.
Nicer clothes. Not nicer, but cleaner.
And they wear blue instead of green.
Yeah. The whole time you were in the service, right? What years is that? 10?
Well, I had 13 years
13,
in.
I'm sorry.
But the way it worked out with my jumping around, I lost a year somehow in there in my paperwork. So I'm officially, or I qualified for 12 good years out of 20. The military works it like you have to have so much time, so much training to qualify for a good year.
I see. Yeah. Because they round up or round down, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So with my trainings and my time, I qualified for 12 good years. Mm-hmm. You want to know the reason why I got out?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, I mean, you brought it up. After the 12 years, why only 12?
Well, between the Army Reserves in Seattle, well, it's actually Everett, Washington is where I was stationed. I lived in the Seattle area, but in suburbs. Mm-hmm. I lived in Redmond and Renton and different areas like that. So I was living in Kirkland at the time, very close to where Microsoft is, which is in Redmond.
Okay.
And I ended up working as a computer expert. So I got a job at Microsoft and I was working there for 6.5 years. Mm-hmm. And while I was working at Microsoft, I was also in the Army Reserves. And then eventually, since I got deactivated, went to the Air National Guard. And I was so busy at Microsoft. And remember, as a reservist or a guard, it's part-time.
Right.
Well, they have full-time positions as well, but I was part-time. Mm-hmm. So I'd do my full-time job with Microsoft and also had to do my part-time work with the military with And at this point, I guess it was Air National Guard. We'd have weekend drills once a month and 2 weeks out of the summer sometime. But with that squadron, since we were supporting the base upgrades worldwide, it was never 2 weeks. It was always around a month of training time that I had to give. So I told you already that I went to Vandenberg Air Force Base and Pusan, Korea to help upgrade the bases. And I missed a lot of Microsoft time. Now, they allowed it, but it was such a huge conflict for me. One of my last jobs at Microsoft was to, this is crazy, I flew around the world for Microsoft teaching this new technology that's going to change the world.
Wow.
It was, and so I was gone. I was in the air or traveling somewhere all the time. So I'd miss my drills. I missed my weekend drill or my summer time, and I'd have to make it all up. So it started to get to the point where my makeup time, I ended up missing that because of work, my active work. It started to be such a conflict I had to choose. Am I going to continue in the reserves or the Air National Guard or stay at Microsoft? And I loved my work at Microsoft, this new technology I was teaching, and I was helping Microsoft evangelize it because it's going to change the world. It's called streaming media.
Okay, yeah.
Windows Media.
Oh.
Back then it was called NetShow.
Okay.
I changed from an IT guy to a lab technician. And then from a lab technician, I moved into program management with the technology. And that's when I flew around. I had my own accounts like Stanford University, Harvard University, Florida Power and Light, Diebold, Siemens, Dell Computer, Compaq Computer, and some of the phones back then. I'm trying to remember the one in Sweden, Helsinki. I went to Helsinki. But anyways, working with all these technology companies, I was representing Microsoft, teaching them this new technology that's going to change the world. And now we have Zoom and YouTube, and that's all part of that technology.
Right.
So I flew so much. I was away so much. I made a decision like, okay, I'd rather continue doing this than staying full or part-time in the military. So I put in a resignation with the Air National Guard. There's too many, I missed too many drills. It was just becoming too much of a conflict. So I chose to stay in my civilian career path.
Well, that explains the 12 years.
Yes, that's why I ended at 12 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for your 12 years.
Yeah, it was my honor. If I had a choice to do it again, I'd do it all over again.
I hear that a lot, whether it be good, bad, or whatever the case may be. Usually military members wouldn't change it for a thing. Even mine, like being in the Marine Corps, it was a lot of bad times and a lot of hard times and very, very few good times. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I agree. I had many, many hard times in the military as well. And, we're not talking about those here. Time away from family is very hard. The orders. You don't have a choice in the military. They order you to do something, you can't argue. You just do it. And that's a difficult way to live, especially if somebody's not reasonable.
Right.
And there's much of that. There was more of that in the Army than there was in the Air Force. But I did have particular people in the Air Force that were unreasonable as well, but they outranked me. So you just have to go with the flow, even though it might not be right or you don't agree with it.
Yeah. I try to explain that to people, and people who weren't in just don't understand that. While being in the military, there's no other option other than yes or no, sir. I mean, you could have a conversation, but at the end of the day, rank is what matters. And, I'm sure there's ways around it, but it's just a different mindset. Like, you just can't quit, or you can't just, I'm leaving, or no, I don't agree with you, walk away. Or it's hard to really try to explain it to somebody that hasn't done it.
They have a chain of command rank structure, and anybody that outranks you in the Army, at least, and in the Army Reserves, if they tell you to do something, you have to listen. If you don't agree with it, you can possibly go above them, but that's a big can of worms, and it's usually not good for you if you do that. Those are options, especially if it's something extreme or really bad. But for the most part, you just have to obey and suck it up. A lot of times it has to do with not going home to your family or to do things that you're not supposed to have to do. But since you were ordered to do it, then you got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's part of the military. The civilian life doesn't understand that.
And there's really no way to explain it other than go through it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I know. Myself and John Alfson's pilot in the Army, we became great friends. And he wasn't in charge of my promotions or any of that part of my military career.
Mm-hmm.
But we flew together. I was his chief and he was my pilot. And I had other pilots and he had other crew chiefs. But we bonded and we were ordered to not hang out.
Mm-hmm.
And that really hurt us because we weren't doing anything wrong military-wise. We were just friends.
Yeah.
But we had to follow orders, so we stopped hanging out. You know, that's unfortunate about the military. Our spouses were good friends. And
yeah, wow.
It really affected us and our spouses as well. And that's rules of the military.
Wow. I'm sorry. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time together until we were ordered not to. And next thing you know, we start to drift apart. We still stay in touch nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't get that time together anymore after that.
So 12 years in, and now you're a civilian, like a real civilian, like a full-on civilian. What age were you at this time?
Oh my goodness. 23 to 35, I guess. So that's 12 years.
Yeah, so you're 35, you're a civilian, you got all this military experiences, world traveling. Was there a transition phase for you during that time? You spent 12 years in the military, and then now you're a civilian. I mean, I know you were kind of in the reserves, so you kind of already were bouncing between both of that, the military life and civilian life. But was there a change for you knowing that I'm no longer a part of the military?
The biggest part of that was when I got out of the active Army.
Okay.
Coming to civilian life, because I didn't volunteer immediately. It was about 9 months or something before I volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest change, going from sergeant crew chief, E5 sergeant in the Army, to what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I had computer training in college before I went into the military. And then in the military, I was their IT guy because it's a small unit and I knew the most of computers. So I'd look for IT work and I couldn't find it. So I became a accounts payable specialist at a securities broker dealer here in San Diego.
Mm.
That was tough for me. I didn't fit in.
Yeah.
I was there for about 1.5 years, and then I went into a small mom and pop computer company after that. So that was a hard transition for me. Also, when I got out of the Army, I had somewhere between 60 and 90 days terminal leave saved up because I was working so much, I never got time off.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all that time off saved, almost 3 months. And I get out and I have all that time. I didn't go through the normal out processing. I took the time off and moved to San Diego during my time off, and I didn't go through the normal stuff where people go through out processing and they help you to adapt to the outside life. I didn't get that. I missed that.
Mm.
Yeah, there's more to it, even like the medical part. I didn't get a proper medical out processing. So I didn't even know about the issues that I had from the military. I really messed up my back bending over in the helicopter carrying 300-pound people into, the stretchers to get them in the Huey.
Right.
And I didn't know about going to the VA and applying for disability.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed all that part of transitioning to civilian life.
Wow. That's unfortunate. And nowadays, those classes are forced upon you. It's like a check-in. You have to get this signature that you've been to these courses. Mm-hmm. So that way, you're informed. We can transition out into the
That's
real world.
Good for people today. I didn't get that.
Yeah. You just took your 3 months and was like, I'm leaving.
Yeah. My wife wanted to get out of there.
Yeah.
Because of what happened to her in the hospital.
So that first, how many months until you volunteered?
About 9 months. It was less than a year. That's how I kept my status of my 12 out of the 13 years. It was every year you had to have a good year. Mm-hmm. So I believe it was about 9 months. It's vague to me now, so long ago, but it was something like that before I volunteered. Yeah,
and then I would imagine after you volunteered and kind of living this civilian/military life, then you started to be able to transition a little, not transition, but like understand the civilian life a lot better.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that hard because I was in civilian life before I went into the military. I didn't go right out of school.
Yeah.
I went into the workforce first for many years. I actually started work while I was in school. Mm-hmm. So I had at least 5 or more years of work before I joined the military, and it was not hard for me to transition back.
I did have a transition period, but it was pretty short. But I do equate it to because I was a civilian before.
Yeah.
To understand how they...
Nowadays, I think the young men and women who want to join the military today, I recommend that they work in the civilian workforce first before they join the military.
Mm-hmm.
Get 2 or 3 years of experience before you join the military and change your life.
Why would you recommend that?
So they can get some life skills
Mm-hmm.
before they go into the military that will help them in the military.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, I think you can make a real decision if you really want to join or not. Like when you're 18 or 17 as a kid, you're easily persuaded.
Yes.
You don't really know what it's like in the civilian world or in the real world, like working for a job, paying real bills, doing all these normal adults we consider adulting. You don't know what adulting is. If you join at 17 or 18 and you get pretty much, housing, rent paid for you, water, food, you're basically living at home again, but in a uniform with stricter rules, hopefully. Yeah, they don't pick up these skills and make a whole rounded decision.
That's correct. Yeah. So you have a lot of young military men and women who don't know these life decisions, and they get put in charge of other people. And if they don't have the life skills first before they go into the military and you're in charge of other people, not all the best decisions are made. And that's where you get the conflicts and the problems. And I think military should wait and not take people right out of school.
Mm.
But they don't do that. So it's just part of life.
Yeah.
I highly recommend people take 2-3 years first before they join the military.
I think it's a good idea and it's great. At the same time, I have seen really good leaders and really good military members that come straight out of high school. It's just different for everybody.
Yeah, that's true. I do agree with that. It would have made some of my life easier, nicer in the military from some of the people that were in charge of me. Like, whoa.
Yeah, you could definitely tell which ones were straight out of high school for the leaders wise.
Mm-hmm.
So leaving the military, now you're a civilian, you're working. What are some things you were doing in 98 that good old Frank would be doing?
Oh, my civilian life.
Yes, civilian wise, yeah.
Okay, well, I was whining and dining a lot of high executives, and
oh, that's right. You were working for Microsoft.
I was working for Microsoft, flying around the world, and they gave me a credit card to win people over to Windows Media. Back then, we didn't call it Windows Media; it was NetShow. But I was doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah,
a lot of traveling. I did like to camp out. I'd living in Washington State. It's just amazing, and did a lot of camping.
And you would go with your family?
Yes, my family and all the friends we had up there, many friends. My daughter actually was born up in Washington State in Kirkland. And before she was 1 year old, we had taken her camping 3 times already.
Wow.
Yeah, she wasn't even a year yet. And she's already becoming a veteran of the woods.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
We camped quite a bit. We would like to go out on excursions, travel, throw some sleeping gear and a tent, some food in the back of my truck, and my wife and I would just take off and go driving for a 3-day weekend or 2-day weekend. And there's so much to see and do up in the Northwest.
Mm.
So we would do that a lot. Could just go driving excursions, see where we ended up. And some would end up in Idaho sometimes, or Eastern Washington, or down in the Olympic Peninsula. There was so much beauty in the Northwest. We took advantage of that.
For myself as well, like the outdoors is just something that I love to be in. For me, it's the ocean. I love the ocean, coming from the island life.
Yes.
So I always have to be near some kind of body of water. It's something about nature that just puts me to ease, just puts things in perspective. Watching nature, watching all the animals and creatures and life, plants grow. I don't know, something about it, being out there. And I'm glad you got to share that with your family.
Yeah, me too. And if people listening have never been to Washington State, I highly recommend it. At least go up there for a few weeks to check it out. It's such a beautiful place. Everybody's scared away from the wet weather that they hear about Washington. But
it rains all the time.
Yeah, that's the locals like to say that to keep the tourists out.
Yeah, that's funny.
But we did a lot of camping, even with tarps.
Yeah.
the misty rain or the wet weather. It's not a big deal when you're up there. It's just nice. It's a nice, comfortable climate.
A lot of camping, a lot of nature for you and your family.
Yeah, and as an islander, I did a lot of fishing.
Ah,
A lot of rivers up there in Washington State.
true, yeah.
And Puget Sound, the ocean. And I kept 2 fishing poles in my truck.
Yeah.
And even on the way to work and on the way home from work, I'd pull over. Eventually lived out in a rural community. So on the way home or to work, I'd pass rivers and I'd swing on by and throw my line out and do some fishing on both to and from work. So as an islander, that stayed in my blood. My dad taught me how to fish and I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not a good fisherman by any means, but I do understand it and I do respect it a lot. So I've been living this civilian life for, a few years now. I know when we are in, we're always told our mission, right? And our purpose is to go out there and do our mission. And now you're in a civilian life. What do you find purpose in today?
Off the mic earlier, I was explaining a little bit of this to you. As we were discussing, I'm a Christian man. I love the Lord. I feel my calling that He wants me to do is to serve other people. I've had many careers, many job experiences. I learned how to do a lot of things, from mechanic to contractor, computer expert. I know so much. The Lord blessed me with a lot of knowledge and skills that I just use that to share and help other people as much as I can. Somebody with car issues, friends from church. Sometimes people reach out, hey, I have a friend that's having this problem. I'll go over there and help, maintenance on the house, or disposal's not working, or plumbing clog, or whatever it is. God blessed me with the knowledge and skills to be able to help these people. So that's what I do. I spend after this session that we're here, I'll be heading up to help another buddy with his house.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be able to use my skills just to serve others.
As a Christian man, we're called to serve. Serving can be in a lot of ways, but I'm glad you were able to pinpoint what serving is for you.
Yeah. The Lord gave me these skills and I might as well use them. And what better way to use them than to help somebody? Even churches. I do what I can around the church. Multiple churches. I serve them as well and volunteer at different places. I volunteered for years at the Campo Railroad Museum. Many, many, many hours just doing the electrical, installing new electrical panels and lights, and working on the plumbing, working on the maintenance facilities.
Wow.
And now I do that for friends and family and people I don't know.
Yeah. And you find joy out of it.
Yeah, I do. I find a lot of joy. Man, the looks on the people's faces. Thank you for all of your help. That's very rewarding. Very similar to the military. We're serving in the military and there's a mission.
Right.
And it's for our country. And this is for God.
Yeah. As a more seasoned man, how has your faith helped you make sense of the challenges on the path you have been on?
That's a very good question. I'm so blessed that as a teenager, the Lord came into my life. I came into Christianity. Actually, when my father was stationed in Korea, a friend invited me to church here in San Diego, female friend from junior high, and I went with her. And the next week after that church, we caught a bus ride to church. My mom didn't even know. My dad's out in Korea. My mom didn't even know I'm out for church somewhere. And during that following week, the youth pastor from that church came to my place and asked me if I wanted to accept Christ in my life. And I did. And that's when I did. So having Christ in my life from 13 through my adulthood has helped me to make these decisions based on what would God want for me and how I reflect and use what I've learned in my life. So having God in my life, it's been able to, the bad times, I can lean on the Lord. The good times, I can thank the Lord. I'm going through a bad time right now, and I heavily lean on the Lord, and it's just made my life so much better. Even in the military, I mentioned to you a few times that I sought out and found other Christians in the military, and there's a brotherhood there, and we'd support each other and help each other and pray for each other.
Yeah.
Lead some other people to the Lord, because it's such an ease to have God to fall on and ask for guidance when we struggle. So that's how I made it through. And my life today, I reflect on, if I didn't have God in my life, I'd probably be miserable. I may have done crazy things, got in trouble with the law or whatever it is, but I have God to lean back on and thank Him for Jesus. So it's made a huge impact on my life. And those people around me, including my wife and my daughter, they both love the Lord as well.
It's always interesting when I talk to people who are not in the faith or know very little or just know very surface level about Christianity, that they think that everything's great. Everything's perfect in our lives. God gave us everything and we're supposed to be this shining beacon. But like you said earlier, you're going through some things. I don't know what you're going through, but you're going through some things right now. And people don't understand that God allows us to go through these things to shape us and for some other greater purpose. Our lives aren't perfect as Christians. And a lot of people think that and believe that. Right. And I don't know where that came about. That's not true at all. We go through it and we just have something to lean on.
Yeah. I think that's the big difference is I lean on God.
Yeah.
And as non-Christians, they probably don't. Or maybe they have who they believe is their God to lean on. But we're still, like you said, we're still just like them. We make mistakes. We make bad decisions. We sin. We are mean sometimes, and we're not supposed to be, but we're human.
Yeah.
So we have these problems just like everybody else. But when we do, for myself, I lean on God for that because, sorry, God, I goofed up again. Please direct me in the right path. And for all those listening out, I'm not trying to lead anybody to the Lord. I'm just telling you about how it worked for me.
Yeah.
It's everybody's own personal decision. And mine at 13 was to choose Christ in my life, and it's helped me.
Yeah.
So these tough times in the Army, tough times in the Army Reserves and the Air National Guard, I heavily leaned on God, and He got me through those tough times. And then now in civilian life, same thing. Life is not straight and easy, even for the wealthy people.
Right.
They struggle. And I've had many, many downs, many rough times in my life. And God has always helped me smooth out the downward slope to a more even keel and feel like I had somebody to lean on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm pretty young in the Christian walk. I let Christ into my heart on Father's Day 2019. So I'm still learning, but I lived before that amongst the world. Very, very impulsive. Yeah, just of the world. And I didn't have anybody to lean on. What I did was lean on myself. And sure, I had some good moments, some fun times and things like that. But at the end of the day, there was always this thing I was missing, right? Like I said earlier, God allows you to go through things so that way you realize you have to lean on Him. God can just snap His fingers and make your life perfect. But without any trials, you will never have to lean on anybody. And so He allows you to go through trials to make you realize that you have to lean on Him and you can't do it alone.
Yes. And then you can use what you've learned from those trials to help other people go through those trials.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it without learning them.
Yeah. It's something I'm learning today and just heavily leaning on. I mean, I felt like I had a bunch of years missed that I didn't learn or haven't been learning about. You learned at 13. And I learned I came to Christ at 20.
Yeah. Well, God came into my life at the perfect time because 13 is when my father didn't make it home from Korea. And I had just been saved that summer. And it was November, December when we found out. And I needed somebody to lean on. That was Christ. That was God. I'm not saying that always been perfect because of that.
No.
From 13 to 18, I didn't have any leadership. I didn't have any guidance in Christianity. And I was reading the Bible a little bit here and there. But when I was 18, I got connected with groups. And that helped me more mature in my Christianity. And then through the years, going through the military and all my careers, sometimes I'd fall away from Christ a little bit, and I paid the consequences.
Yeah.
When I get back into the Word, that is reading God's Word and serving along with other believers, Christians. I feel more at home and more secure in my life and more confident in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And what God wants me to do.
Like you said, when you're around other Christians, you've always gravitated to finding other Christians and everything. I'm still learning that. But I've noticed when I'm around other Christians, there's this different feeling that I get. It's hard to explain, but the best way I explain it is people understand it. We all know we're going through struggles and we're in the same boat together, and that our commonality is we're leaning on God. And it
Yeah.
just has a very,
There's a bond there.
a bond or peacefulness to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a bond.
Yeah. Most of my friends are Christians, but I have a lot of non-Christian friends. And my closest friends, 2 of them, are non-Christians.
Right.
And they know more about my life than my Christian friends do. It's not a requirement that Christians have to just be with their own. You don't have to be a Christian to be a good person.
Right.
Us Christians don't expect that out of people.
Yes.
We just would love for you to know God.
Yeah.
And if that's your choice, then we'll support you. If not, we'll still support you.
Yes.
But 2 of my best, closest friends are non-Christians.
It's an interesting journey, this Christian walk, and using everything that we have learned through life. Yeah, it's very interesting, and it feels really good. It feels really right. I don't know. It's really hard to explain.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm still pretty young in it.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned as a man of God, what we've been saying Christians, is to love.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing that I've learned. God wants us to love each other. Christians or non-Christians, to love everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Love him first and then love everybody else. And that's the biggest lesson that I've learned out of my Christianity is love is number one.
Yeah.
There's no goodness that comes out of hate or anger or bitterness.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that and just say a godly love, right? Not this earthly definition of love.
Yes.
We have to look at it from God's version of love, not ours.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do.
Yeah, that's very hard to do. We were both talking about Christians aren't perfect. We mess up and make a lot of mistakes, and we don't always do what we know we should do.
Yeah.
Yeah. How to do love godly. This 1 Corinthians 13 talks all about that.
Yeah. Do you have any practices or beliefs throughout your life that you've kept to this day, or not rituals, but like kind of like this saying when you're in stay alert, stay alive? Is there anything like that for you that you created or learned?
Well, I don't know about sayings like that. I'd have to really contemplate and think about that. But one thing that comes to my mind is my dad used to welcome anybody into our house, especially if they were an islander. And strangers, we had strangers all the time. So just be welcoming. And that's part of my life now. I'm still welcoming to anybody and everybody to come into my house or have a barbecue or spend the night if you need a place to stay for the night or a week or something like that. So I welcome people into my life quite a bit because of the way my father raised me. About other things like stay alert, stay alive, there are some things that I've grown up with, and I just call it Chaco quality.
Chaco quality.
That's my last name, Chaco. And my dad taught us, my brother and I, to do good work and to be the best quality that we can. So part of my life is anything that I do, I try to do the best. And really, now it's for God, but it's got to be Chaco quality. I don't take shortcuts. I do high quality work.
That's awesome. That's a good Chaco quality. I'm going to have to remember that.
Nowadays, what I'm doing, I got out of the IT field because it was so stressful. I like to consider myself an expert in the computer field. And I did it for 21 years with small mom and pop companies, law firm, then Microsoft. Then I worked for Compaq Computer Corporation and the Hewlett Packard. And all along, I was in the leading technology with those corporations. I had to study and stay on top of technology because my clients would need someone knowledgeable when I met with them. And I got embarrassed one time. I didn't study enough, and I wouldn't let that happen to me twice. So if I wasn't working, I was studying. But because of that, I didn't have much of a family life, and it was so stressful. It's like I was going to college while working all the time. Technology changed so fast in the computer field that I had to continually go to college, basically.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to college, but I was taking all the courses I could and reading and studying as much as I could to stay on top of technology. Anyways, when Hewlett Packard decided to gobble up Compaq, they called it a merger, but it was not a merger.
Okay.
They gobbled up Compaq and spit us all out, laid us all off. My brother here in San Diego, I was in Houston, Texas at Compaq and Hewlett Packard. He said, Frank, I'm starting my own locksmith business now. I quit my job, and he asked me to fly out and help him set it up. I had corporate experience, and I helped him start his company and doing the business and the office part of it. And while I was out here, he said, hey, why don't you go to Kentucky and get your training and become a locksmith and work with me and start your own company as well and subcontract to me. So it was perfect timing because I was laid off from Compaq looking for work, and I ended up doing what he suggested. I flew to Kentucky, went into locksmith training. And before that, whenever I flew into San Diego while I was working at Microsoft or these other companies, I flew around a lot. So I'd fly into San Diego working with clients and visiting my brother. Mm-hmm. He would show me a lot of his locksmith skills, or, hey, try to pick this lock, or check out this lock, or this is what I'm doing. So I knew I already had an in into the field. Mm-hmm. So I went to the school, got 2 weeks, and then moved back to San Diego with my wife and daughter and started working with my brother. And he got me into advanced locksmithing and safe cracking and opening and repairing military and government safes and high security locks. So it brought me back into the government field. I was in the military. So here in San Diego, it's Navy and Marines, Coast Guard, the Border Patrol, and there's many government agencies out here. Mm-hmm. So my brother was advanced in that, one of the best in the West Coast, and I'm learning from him. So that brought me to be connected with the Marines and the Navy again.
Yeah.
So I haven't been away from the military too long during all those years, other than the time I was in the IT field. That's 20 years of my 60 years of life. And the rest of it, I've been connected with the military one way or the other. Yeah. And now it's with the Navy and Marines. I open their safes and their high security locks, and I repair them and teach them and do all I can to help the government keep their security stuff secure.
That's cool. Military has never really left, well, besides that period. It's kind of interesting that you're back in the military space, right?
Yeah. Well, when I was first starting off my own company, I didn't have enough clients, and my brother he was just starting off. He couldn't afford to pay me what my lifestyle was like from Houston or from working in IT. Mm-hmm. I went back to project management here in San Diego, working for a defense contractor to do upgrades in the ships and submarines. So I was program and project manager for Northrop Grumman and SAIC for a subsidiary called AMSEC. Mm-hmm. And I had teams of people that I'd take either to Guam or Hawaii or Washington State or here in San Diego, and we'd rip out old electronics or sonar or different parts of the submarines. Wow. And remodel basically with the new stuff. Mm-hmm. Give them new sublands or networks for their new computer systems, new sonar systems, all of that kind of stuff. And I was managing that for 3 years while I was part-time working as a locksmith to build up my client base. Mm-hmm. And my client base got big enough and I was able to start full-time, being able to sustain my style of living with income from my own company. Mm-hmm. And that's when I stopped working for the big corporations and do 100% locksmithing.
Is that what you're doing today?
It is what I'm doing today. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I spent a lot of time on the Navy base and the Marine base throughout Southern California, all the way up to Port Hueneme.
Wow.
Defense contractors throughout the state. I flew up to Napa 2 years ago to help a defense contractor up there with their locks. Classified material needs to be secure for the government. Mm-hmm. And not everybody knows how to deal with those locks. So it's a skill my brother blessed me with. And now I'm around Navy and Marines all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. More military life for me. I go into most of the ships in San Diego and some of the submarines now and then, and all the buildings.
Wow.
Yeah. It's military life still, even though I'm on the civilian side of it.
Yeah, you're seeing some things that, I haven't even seen, and some people will never ever see, like the inside of a submarine, a live one.
I've been in, I don't know, maybe 12 to 15 different submarines.
Wow.
And it's amazing. It's a different life down there under the water.
So I've heard.
Yeah. And all of them, they're people running them. And it's relationships. It's one person helping the other. That's my life right now, just helping. And my brother taught me a skill. Most of it I learned from my brother, but I did learn from training on my own and going to Kentucky. But my brother gave me a knowledgeable skill to help the U.S. government. That's a joy to do that as well.
Yeah, you're still serving.
Yeah.
After all these years, you're still serving.
Yeah.
So we're coming up towards the end of the podcast here. Here on the Barracks Life, we have a little bit of a tradition.
Uh-oh.
Surprise.
Uh-oh. I didn't know about this one.
Yeah. We like to connect our guests. And so the way we do that is you're going to ask 2 questions for the next guest that's possibly sitting there. And then you're going to respond to 2 questions that previous guests have asked.
Okay.
So right now, if you don't mind, what are some questions that you would like to know from somebody that could possibly be sitting in that chair?
For myself, one of my wishes of joining the military was to travel the world. And other than Busan, Korea, I never got that opportunity. So for the person who's coming here after me, what is your favorite place in the military that you've traveled to? That's one of the questions. The other one would be, how good did you get because you're in the military and your life could depend on it? Did you take it for granted, or did you seriously learn how to disassemble your weapon without being able to look at it and then become an expert with that?
Yeah.
Because I did. I learned my M16 blindfolded very well. And one day that your life may depend on that.
Those are some good questions. We're going to add that to the list of questions. Here are the bowl of other questions from other guests on this show. So if you don't mind.
In the coconut shell. I love it.
You don't mind pulling out a question and reading it out loud and answering.
Okay. Does the U.S. military use back channel communications with adversaries like terrorist organizations, or only with diplomatic states? Well, this sounds like it came from somebody in Intel.
Yeah.
And yes, I can't honestly answer this question knowing 100%, but I honestly believe that they do. And especially with today's technology and the internet, we use information warfare, and that's a back channel communication.
Yeah.
So I would say yes, in my opinion.
Thank you for that answer. Question 2.
Picking out of a coconut shell. My family in Guam would love that. All right. If your son or daughter wanted to join the military, but not the same branch of service you were in, would you let them? I thought about that a lot for my daughter, and I wondered if she would ever choose to go in or not. I thought I would support her, and I would be proud that she did. But that she did not choose to go in, I'm still proud of her. So yeah, I would let her. I was thinking, boy, I would highly recommend the Air Force to her. But she didn't choose to go in. Her career turned out to be an interior designer, and I'm so proud of her for that.
Thank you, Frank, for answering those questions. Those questions will be part of our growing collection, creating connections between service members who might not ever meet but share this common bond. Thank you.
It was my honor. My pleasure.
So your story carries a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience that others can learn from. Before we go, we just got a few more questions for you. For anyone listening, whether it be an active duty member or a retired personnel or just some civilian, what is something that you learned from the military and you would like to tell them?
I guess one of the biggest things I learned, you and I have discussed, you have to work out your issues with everybody in the military that you're around, because you're around them for a great deal of time, more than the civilian life is. You spend many more hours in the military with your coworkers, and you have to learn to work with people and have to learn to give and take. You have to learn to compromise. And I struggled with that. I didn't have a lot of that stuff you learn as a teenager, a lot of it from your parents. I didn't have that option. So joining the military, if you don't like to compromise and get along with people, military's not for you. That's one of the biggest things I learned. You can make friends anywhere, in or out of the military, but you have to learn how to compromise.
That's true. That's very, very true. Now, you did 12 years in the military, but you also have many years of not in the military. What are some life lessons you can give to anyone listening?
It's the same lesson. And I'm still learning this myself. And myself have failed at this many times, is to have grace with others. That's part of compromising. Don't be so strict, like my dad taught me. Let people make a mistake. Let them learn on their own. Let people not be Chaco quality. Let them mess up, and don't be so strict. Have grace, and what God's been teaching me, love. Through love, you have to have grace, patience, and kindness, and humility. That's the biggest lesson I'm learning today. And it's taken me over 50 years to learn that. For you young people out there, try everything you can to learn how to love and be graceful to people, and it'll help you.
Well, thank you, Specialist Frank Chaco. Thank you for this conversation, the stories, enlightenment, and the wisdom that you shared with us.
Yeah, but I was a sergeant when I got out. It was my honor, and you're welcome. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be a part of this new family.
To our listeners, remember that every service member's journey is unique, yet together they form a rich tapestry of military life. Join us next time for another compelling story from the Barracks Life. Until then, this is former Sergeant Khit Lovan reminding you that where boots hit the deck, stories take flight.